Okay, okay, I'm gonna try to do Paul Stine murder reenactment part 2 from the perspective of the killer. I'll try to do it as fast as I can so the video's not too long. So the killer had gloves and a gun, which means that he was probably thinking about doing an invasion robbery into one of the buildings. He's a burglar. He's standing outside and he looks down the street and he sees the cab pull up. He sees Charlie get out of the cab and pay the cab driver. At that point, he's thinking, I could always come back and invade somebody's house. That's some easy money. I'll just wait for this cab and I'll hail the cab. Charlie gets out, crosses the street, and goes to start casing the high school. The killer is sitting back over here and he waits for the cab to pull up. And he starts waving at the guy. All of a sudden, the cab driver pulls the car to the curb right here. The guy looks like anybody else. He has his gloves on. It's probably cool at night. He walks up to the cab and the cab driver asks him where he wants to go. He gives him some excuse and he starts pulling off his gloves in order to make the cab driver feel more comfortable. And the cab driver goes, fine. So now he walks around and he gets into the cab because he wants to be behind the driver. He gets in the cab and the cab driver says, hey buddy, how you doing? What's your name? Or whatever he says. And the guy pulls the gun and he puts it behind the cab driver's head and says, give me the money. At this point, if the cab driver hands him the money, he gets out, he leaves. He doesn't have a mask on. He feels like he looks like anybody on the street. There's no description. But the cab driver must have went for the door. Boom! Shoots him one time in the back of the head. Goes from a robbery to a murder that quick. He had put the gloves to the right side of him on the chair. But he must be right-handed. Because if he was left-handed, he would have had the gun in his left hand and he would have got out on the right side of the cab. Instead, he's got the gun in his right hand. He grabs the left glove, puts it on because he doesn't want to leave fingerprints. I couldn't even get out of here. So maybe that's the same thing with that. He rolls the window down because the door is locked in the back. When he gets out, he closes his door, but then he opens the cabbie's door. The light comes on. That's how the witnesses saw his face. He pushes the cab driver over, steals his wallet. He takes the keys to turn off the engine because he doesn't know if the guy is dead and he can't afford to pop off another round or wake people up. He closes the door, the light goes off, he has the cash, he turns and he leaves. He starts heading this way, across the street. The witnesses get his face, but they're already gone and calling the police. So he starts heading down the street this way. That's the moment that Charlie sees him from over there, comes across the street, and he comes to the car. He's thinking, oh my God, this is now a crime scene. Charlie comes to the car. He looks in, sees the cab driver's dead, opens the door, tears off a piece of his shirt, and starts wiping down the cab. They can't see his face because he's down here wiping the cab, but they can see his body. as he comes around the back and he's wiped it all down because he was just in the cab. Charlie leaves. He starts to follow the killer down the street, down the Jackson, making the turn, and runs into the cops when he's over there. But this is the way the car was found. And this door, when they opened it, the cab driver fell out and his head was laying on the seat this way. That's because when he was shot by the killer, he was pushed over to get his wallet. They're looking for a guy who was ready to rock and roll in a second. He doesn't wear a mask, which means he was doing burglaries thinking that he just looks like anybody. It couldn't be his first time. If they go back 2 weeks to a month for any burglaries, home invasions in the Presidio, where there were latent fingerprints or a description of a controlled robbery, you might find the murderer of Paul Stine. And he might look like exactly what we thought the Zodiac looked like for the last 50 years.